Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well. I have got an exciting new mold to share with you. I just recently bought this mold from SHEIN. This is a beautiful bowl mold, and when I tell you it was around £5 or even £6, I think it was a total bargain, and it is a beauty of a size, perfect for all of the things. Now this is measuring in at around 21 centimeters across and just under 6 centimeters deep. Now I cannot lie, I did see this mold. I saw it, well, I don't know if it was this one, but I saw a very similar one on Instagram by Resin Jules. She's an incredible resin artist over on Instagram predominantly, and I saw her use similar bowl molds, and I ran to SHEIN, and if I did not find a pretty much identical mold to the one she was using, I was so happy. So I bought two, and I bought another one which is coming up in a future video. Now, if you are watching this in the future, it is currently February 2024, and I am in the middle of a botanical, spring, floral, leafy kind of season with my videos, and I knew as soon as I saw these bowls, I wanted to do them in botanicals. I am going to make a Jesmonite bowl. Now I'm using Jesmonite AC100. I wasn't sure how much I needed because it's a brand new mold. Yes, I could measure it. Ain't got time for that. So I generally just mix up what I think is going to be enough, and I have another mold to hand if I make too much. If I don't make enough, I can fill it up, no problem. Now, my first error here, and it is an error, you really should be sieving your Jesmonite AC100 powder. I usually do, and I don't know why on this day I decided not to sieve it. I just chucked it in, but I would definitely recommend sieving the powder before you mix it in with the liquid, and we will see why in a little while. Now, the color I decided to use is my favorite from the Homeware Design Co. This is the Zen Green, but I'm not going for that dark green that I usually do. If you guys have been with me a while, you'll know I love that color, and I usually make things super dark green. I'm going for a much paler shade, a much more calmer, pure, jadey kind of zen. That's what I'm going for. Just mix in until you are happy. Now, if you are new to Ecos or Jesmonite AC100, which is of course an Eco, you really don't want to put in more than 2% pigment. So 2% of your overall capacity of liquid. Don't put any more in, otherwise it will really mess with the actual product itself. And then it was time to pour, and I can already see lumps in this, which is really why I would suggest sieving your powder. Now, pouring it into the mold, it is going down the walls of this mold like a dream. You can just see it filling up. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you can see where it is filling up. So again, I think I knew immediately I'd made a little bit too much for this mold, which is all good because now we get two projects in one video. Once it was fully filled up, it was just a case of tapping those edges until I was happy that I'd eliminated any risk of air bubbles. But I'll be honest, this mold is definitely not the kind of mold that will trap a lot of air with Jesmonite. Jesmonite is so heavy. It just went straight to the bottom, up around the walls, and job was a good one, to be honest. The chances of getting air pockets in a mold like this are very slim, but still we do like a bit of a shimmy and a bit of a shake. I did put a little bit too much into this mold, so you do see me scraping some out, or did I leave that footage in? I'm not sure. Maybe I took that out. I did take some out and I put it back in the bowl. And here is another mold. We had leftovers. We might as well make two projects in one video. This is the beautiful oval tray mold from Molds and Shapes. All the details will be down below. If I am able to link SHEIN, I will link them as well. But just go on to SHEIN and type in large silicone bowl mold and you will see this immediately, and it's so cheap. I couldn't believe it. Okay, this is 40 minutes later. It is time to demold. Now you can demold after 30 minutes, but I thought it might be a struggle to get this out, so I left it a little bit longer and I left it for 40. Honestly, I don't know if I needed to worry. It came out like a dream. You just have to stretch it over the side, flip it over and pull it from this way around, minimizing the stress on the Jesmonite at this point. And oh my goodness me, my first initial thoughts were, yeah, you can see all the unmixed powder. You can see where I didn't sieve the powder. A real shame. Definitely sieve your powders, guys, because the dots that you can see, that is the result. But this is such a beautiful bowl. Super weighty and heavy and pure quality. I love, love, love it. But we're not leaving it here. We're gonna smash this bowl into next week. We are going outside of our comfort zone. I rarely do videos like this, but I figured I wanted to have a play, see what it does, see what we can create with a smashed technique, adding the smashed bowl back into the mold, and then filling it up with those botanicals and epoxy resin and just getting a little bit of a mashup, a little bit of a mix together, and yeah, amalgamation, if you will. A very big word for me, I know, so proud. Must be something in the air, the sun is shining, so the big words are coming out. I have been reading a thesaurus. Oh, no, I'm just kidding, I haven't. So we're putting what we can back into the mold. Now I'm really focusing mainly on the walls. I don't want to put anything in the base because that base is going to be filled with resin and botanicals and make the base of the bowl look super pretty. So at this point, I'm really just putting back the sides, the walls. The one thing to know that if you do this, you will get a lot of resin seepage, a lot of resin seepage. So if you don't really like that aesthetic, this might not be the project for you, because we've broken the seal between the Jesmonite and the silicone mold. You'll never get that back, and resin can travel through the teeniest of slithers and cracks. So whilst I know that I'm putting this bowl back in the mold, I know that that seal is now gone. That's a broken seal. The resin is definitely going to travel in, underneath, around, down, and on top of everything I've placed back in. But I guess that's part of the fun, not really knowing what to expect when it comes to projects like this and just allowing yourself to go with it and just carry on regardless. Now it is time to fill all of those holes, I guess the gaps in the walls, fill those gaps with all of my leaves and my botanicals. Now it pains me, it truly pains me to spend money on things I could get for free in nature. But it's really a case of being organised and going places where I will find leaves like this. These are from Amazon. They are pre-dried, pre-pressed, and they come in these gorgeous little sealed packages, and they are perfect for resin art. It's just painful to pay for things I could find on the ground for free. But here we are. We do it because we love it, and yeah. Everything you need will be linked in my Amazon storefronts. I have a whole section on like pressed flowers, leaves and botanicals. I think I need to double check that. But yeah, go check down below in my Amazon storefront if you want these leaves. They are really gorgeous, and I don't genuinely feel like I'm going to find all of these here unless I grow my own. So I'm just slotting them down. So wherever there is a gap in that wall, I'm slotting my leaves down into those gaps, and I'm really packing it out. I'm not just putting one or two. I'm really packing out those walls with my leaves because I want the maximum impact. Then I'm just laying some down on the surface, and I do more than this, you will see further down in the video. But this is what we're looking like, the side view. We're kind of just like shoving them down in there, ready for the resin to freeze them in place forever. Then I move on to the large oval mold from Molds and Shapes. I'm just, again, I could have, if I wanted to, remove that Jesmonite, snap it a little bit more so I've got a little bit more of a resin, but I didn't. I just left it in place. So this, again, it hasn't been dried out thoroughly. It is still in the mold, and I'm just going to pour the resin as is. It works absolutely fine. Now, the one thing to remember about doing a video where you're mixing resin and Jesmonite is to remember that resin and Jesmonite stick together perfectly if you're putting the resin on the Jesmonite. If you've already got something that is cured resin, Like if you're making a pot like this and I poured resin into the bowl, let that resin cure overnight, then poured Jesmonite in the second half of the bowl, they would eventually come apart. Jesmonite does not. It doesn't stick to resin, especially in a mold like this where the seal would be a super thin wall. Then I've done it. Trust me, you just have to trust me on this one. Pots will split in two if you're trying to mold Jesmonite with resin. It has to be the other way around. The resin will stick to everything and anything it touches, apart from the polys and the silicone. But it will stick to Jesmonite like a dream. Now you see me here, I am using the Apex resin. I'm just pouring super slowly. I want that resin to do its own thing. I want it to slowly but surely travel down and around into all of the gaps and all of the spaces and work its way in and around all of those leaves as well. Just to minimize bubbles. I mean, we still get bubbles, it's leaves, and I didn't do a great job at heating this resin up and trying to eliminate, but we do still get bubbles. But you can see here straight away it is seeping down in and around the wall of Jesmonite, and that is to be fully expected. I did hang around for a while afterwards, popping these bubbles that you see that are rising up. I just wanted to get rid of as many as possible, and this is 24 hours later. The resin has done a great job at, I guess, sticking this bowl back together and getting all of it so that it is one bowl. My immediate thoughts were, not my thing, not my thing. The more I looked at the bowl, the more I enjoyed it for what it is. But my initial thoughts were, I don't really like the way the Jesmonite has snapped. I don't mind the seepage, that is fully to be expected. But I don't like that straight line. I think it's that straight line that I don't actually like. Like, who knew? Hello, reflection of my double chins there. You're welcome. The walls I love. I love the gaps in the walls and where I've put the leaves down. Love, love, love. I'm not loving all of the air bubbles that were trapped under my leaves. Now, ideally, you could just dip your leaves into resin and then transfer them over to the mold. I've done it both ways, and you probably do get less bubbles if you do it that way. But equally, it's hard to then get leaves down the walls if there's already resin in there. You're really going against it. So yeah, I was really split in two, pretty much like this bowl. I was split in two. I love the top side of it, like with the gaps in the walls. But that big hunk of Jesmonite, I just feel like I could have chopped that up a little bit more and made it less. There was too much. For the tray, I want a white background because I have plans for this tray, and I want a white background that could be anything. If you wanted to do this and copy exactly what I'm doing, that's absolutely fine. Hashtag Claire made me do it. You could use your epoxy resin and add your white pigment, or you could do what I'm doing and use the 2-part polyurethane, which already comes in white, and it sets in around 10 to 15 minutes, and then you can demold, and it pretty much sets up before your very eyes. It will turn white in deeper places than shallower, quicker. So you can see here on the right hand side, it's pretty much cured. On the left, not yet. But it's okay, it doesn't take long. Once it is fully cured, it is time to demold, and that white is exactly what I wanted. It is giving my leaves a gorgeous pop, a beautiful white background. Now, we did get overspill. I quite often get overspill with polyurethane because this one here is the Let's Resin polyurethane, and it is so watery. It is pure water when you pour it, so I tend to get a little bit of overspill, which is nothing a pair of scissors can't handle. Now it is time to actually make this tray pop. Now, this was my plan from the off. However, it's even better now that my Jesmonite wasn't mixed properly and I've got those ugly dots, those ugly lumps of unmixed powder. These stencils are just going to absolutely cover that up and just disguise the fact that I messed up on the Jesmonite AC100. Now, you can play this any which way you want. You could cut this up if you wanted to. I decided to leave the silk screen whole. Now, this is the silk screen that I bought from Amazon. Again, I've got a whole section on silk screens down below. I'm going to be using it with some white acrylic paint. That is the reason I wanted the background of my leaves to be white, so that we could really draw out that colour and pull out that white and add it onto the top surface of the Jesmonite as well. This as a tray on its own would be okay. I've done it before with resin. It would be nice if the Jesmonite was in perfect condition. If I'd done a much better job on that Jesmonite finish, this tray on its own is utterly perfection. But I did want to add the silk screens. I really wanted to pull that whole botanical theme together. So this is the fern leaf silk screen, and oh my goodness me, when I tell you, I love this result. But one of you lovelies did tell me a while ago, I can't remember who it was, forgive me if you're watching this, let me know in the comment section. I got a message from someone saying, FYI, silk screens on resin doesn't work. And I said, thank you for the heads up. I haven't tried it yet. And I did forget that information when it came to allowing this silk screen to touch the resin surface. Truth be told, guys, it doesn't work. It wants to smudge, it wants to go down and in. Don't ask me what the science is behind it, but it is much better on an eco or a Jesmonite. And I did have a little bit of a clean up there with some alcohol and some cotton buds, just to take it away and try and make it a little bit neater around that resin, where that resin has joined to the Jesmonite. Now, if you're worried here that my silk screen is touching the other fern, it doesn't affect it. I couldn't believe it when I did this in a previous video, and I haven't even, I know this is naughty to admit it, but I haven't even allowed that little fern to dry. I've just gone straight in with the actual silk screen in the much bigger print, and again, it was fine. It worked out fine. It didn't affect that little one at all. But then I also didn't press down on that little one at all. I was avoiding it, so I've really only pressed down where I want that huge fern to come out on my tray. And I am telling you now, out of the two projects that I've made in this video today, it's just stroke of luck that I had leftover Jesmonite, because this tray is absolutely by far my favorite. It is so much more my aesthetic, so much more up my street. And yeah, it really is just serendipity, guys, serendipity that I had some Jesmonite left over and I had to make this tray, because what else would I do with it? How gorgeous is this? How gorgeous is this? I've got an ugly blob, a spot right there on the tray that I'm going to cover up with a third fern. Of course, we love odd numbers in design, and I cannot. I'm obsessed, absolutely obsessed. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, whether or not this is your aesthetic with the half and, well, not half and half, but the thirds, like a bit of resin and a bit of Jesmonite mixed, it does work. Equally, my brain is already whirring with that green and that white. How stunning is it? Truly, I can imagine a plant pot, a green plant pot in the same kind of green with the white ferns all over it, all around the sides, and just bringing it to life. And yeah, I love it. The fact that the Jesmonite wasn't perfect on this one, I had powder clumps in there, I had ugly spots. These ferns have done a great job at hiding that, and you know, if you don't look look too closely, you'll never know. Now, when it comes to sealing, I've done videos on this in the past. Absolutely do not, I repeat, do not use Jesmonite AC100 acrylic sealer for this kind of thing. It will smudge your acrylic paint beyond recognition. It will smudge your ferns, and it will just be a hot mess. Done it, you've seen it, I've shared the video. Use wax. Right now, wax is your best friend when it comes to using acrylic paint in any form on your eco pours. It really has to be wax. Wax does not affect the acrylic paint at all, but Jesmonite sealer for AC100 does. It's a slip and slide. It's a big smudgy bath. It's not the one, but the wax is a dream. Now, when I wax, I wax. I am proper Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. I am rubbing this in as if my life depends on it. I'm squishing it in there. I'm using my sponges here, which are just old face painting sponges. I am really shoving it down into the surface of the Jesmonite to get that wax fully soaked in before it is time to wax off. I'm simply turning my sponge over using the drier side of my sponge, and I am doing the same thing again. I am rubbing that baby. I am rubbing it in all over, in and around the sides, in all of the nooks and crannies, the 90-degree angles. Get it in there. Don't be afraid. And I am doing that so that we don't get any smudges, we don't get any kind of streaky finishes, and it is beautiful. Beautiful. I absolutely love this one, but mostly I love that Jesmonite with the white fern aesthetic. I know I need to do more on that. This bowl was still growing on me, and if I'm being brutally honest with you guys, it still hasn't. It's definitely not my favorite thing, and I am 100% putting that down to the straight line of that Jesmonite. I think I just prefer random. I prefer 50% of this bowl is a bit of me. I love it, but 50% of this bowl, it's too plain, it's too much of nothing. I thought for a second I could try and get creative and add those silk screens to the edge of the bowl. I mean, it added a little something, but it's not necessarily the right green. Probably should have added white, gone in with the white. I would have been much happier had I done that, I think. Again, adding silk screens to curved surfaces is also not the one. It was not so easy. I tried to get the big one to go in and up the sides. It was not happening. We were getting gaps and stretching it everywhere. Just wasn't doing it for me. So a little bit of a cleanup with that cotton bud. Again, it touched the resin, so it wasn't happy. Can you see where I'm going with this? Right now, the left-hand side of the bowl is me. The right-hand side of the bowl, okay. Now the left-hand side of the bowl. Claire, sort it out. Come on. Left-hand side of the bowl, as we're looking at it, it's too much of nothing. It's too much of nothing. I don't know whether to add... tattoos. Tattoos. Guys! I think I'm going to have to come back to this. Temporary tattoos on this right now would save it. Botanical temporary tattoos. Why did I not think of this before? It was too late, because this video is going out in like an hour, and it's too late. Temporary tattoos. Claire, what were you thinking? Okay, we can save that bowl. I mean, we might already love it. Some of you might hate it. Like, I'm 50-50 on the fence. But we can save that bowl with temporary tattoos. And I am going to try, because that is a lot of product to waste. I want to turn that bowl into beautiful. We'll see what we can do. So keep watching this space. It might not be a whole video, but we might have to then do a whole resin rub. Like, rub the whole entire bowl in resin. Don't know how that would work. Don't know how that would turn out. But as a whole, as an aesthetic, these are two projects that I do in their own way love. I love the tray. I just don't love the bowl. Let me know your thoughts. And oh my goodness me, I'm obsessed with the tray. Fully obsessed with the tray. It is an eclectic mix. That word again. The amalgamation of two different worlds coming together and bringing that botanical theme over to both. I love, 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 love. Cannot wait to do more of that. White and green. Look how crisp it looks. And these silk screens, by the way, if you are wondering, I washed them in warm soapy water, washed them thoroughly, and they do stain, but it's the silk that you really want to clear out. I've had messages saying it hasn't come off. Now, honestly, it's the silk area that is your main priority. Get the paint out of the silk. Don't worry about the paint staining the actual vinyl, because that's not going to affect future projects. It's the silk that you need cleared. Once they are washed with warm soapy water, put them on some tissue or a towel, lay them flat, lay something over the top, let them fully dry out. They are still sticky, they remain sticky, they are reusable. Put them back in the pack. Job is a good one. All is well in the world. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I will see you all in the next video. It's quite a long one, so thank you so much for staying as well, especially if you're in the live chat. We're nearly at 25 minutes, and I appreciate you for being here. Thank you. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.